bright and early on a Tuesday. Today is election day. So I wanted to actually introduce Jose Delgado first thing here this morning. I'm going to do a brief overview of Palm Beach Tech, a little bit about who we are, but do want to introduce him. He's going to be our co-host and co-moderator this morning. I'm going to share my screen really quick. And then Jose, I'll give you a chance, as long as the other panelists as well, to tell us a little bit about yourselves. All right, everybody can see my screen okay? All right, so this morning we've got a discussion with our future change makers. Our panelists this morning are Jose Delgado, data analyst student at FAU, Evan Cabrera, civil engineering student at FAU, Eesha Shaw, biomedical engineering student at University of Florida, and Brandon Wisnicki, computer science student at UPenn. And of course, like I said, today is election day, so thank you for anybody that's here listening this morning. But if you have not voted, please go immediately out after this and do so. Our sponsor this morning, South Florida Business and Wealth Magazine, you can actually learn more about them and our partner at sfbwmag.com. So thank you again to them. And a little bit about Palm Beach Tech. So our whole goal and mission is building South Florida into a tech hub. And we do so by connecting our corporate members, our community partners, a bunch of different schools, colleges, universities, coding schools, and of course, our tech talent in the local area. We currently have over 200 corporate members and partners right now. And here are a few of them. So like Office Depot, City Furniture, Brick, 2 Ton, we've got Boca Code. So from your startups all the way through your much larger companies. And a little bit about our membership. So corporate membership is access to our exclusive member portals, job listings and resume distributions, different speaking opportunities. We also have exclusive peer groups, and there's so much more. You can actually get more information there at palmbeachtech.org. And then there's a tab, I believe it's Join Us, where you can get all the membership benefits listed out for you there. Community Creed. Palm Beach Tech is wholeheartedly committed to building a welcoming, collaborative, and inclusive community for all. We put inclusivity first, engage with others, are considerate to all, and don't sell to people. So in short, we welcome the entire tech community, no matter what your color, gender. We want everybody to be included and want to make sure that this is a very inclusive community for everybody. A little bit about our weekly events. So Tech Talks, we have them weekly on Mondays at 5:30. That actually, out of all of our events, we do have networking in the beginning. So 5:30 to 6 is a whole half hour of networking, and then the presentation starts at 6 o'clock. Community coffees, like this morning, each Tuesday at 8 a.m. Our podcasts are weekly on Wednesdays at 1. And then our educational workshops are Fridays at 10 a.m. And the workshops, I do get that question a lot, is mostly introductory, and then also, like intro to web development, intro to Python, JavaScript, different types of coding languages. Our resume distributor. So anybody that's looking for jobs, you can actually go to palmbeachtech.org/careers, and there is a resume distributor. There's job boards. So you can actually apply directly to some of these organizations, or the resume distributor will actually allow you to send your resume out to any of our members all at once. Turn it off, mommy. Sorry, phone's ringing. Also, you can join us on Slack. It's southfloridatech.com/Slack. Or you can actually text us your email and we can add you onto our weekly newsletter. That is 561-250-7206. And then hopefully you guys can actually hear this, because I have a little message from Madison. Madison, unfortunately, she's actually, well, I guess fortunately, she's in school today, but unfortunately, she couldn't join us this morning. She's actually one of our college interns who runs our Code Palm Beach program. So I have a little message here from her. Please let me know if you can't hear the video.
Got to put the volume on.
You can't hear it? All right, I probably didn't do it beforehand, so I'm not going to be able to with the volume. So I'll stop sharing. So basically, a little message from Madison, just because she could not join us this morning, is she was actually wanted to talk a little bit about her experience with Code Palm Beach. So pretend I'm Madison, this is coming from her. She said, interning at Palm Beach Tech only solidified my passion for computer science and the tech community we have. During my time as an intern, I learned skills that I hadn't even realized the importance of, such as how to properly write an email and managing my time. All the while, I was able to visit local tech companies and experience the field I love. I now have the pleasure of continuing my time at Palm Beach Tech as an education specialist, giving K through 12 students the opportunity to fall in love with code, just like I did through Code Palm Beach. Code Palm Beach is a nonprofit organization introducing K through 12 students to computer coding technology. For more information, you can go to codepalmbeach.org. So with that, I'd like to introduce Jose. If you would like to introduce either of our panelists, and then each of you please just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. And Jose, you can take it from there.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jose. I am a student at FAU Wilkes Honors College, and I'm currently studying data analytics, aspiring to be a data scientist. So today, we're just going to talk a little bit about change within our schools and how this can affect each student's future. And with me, I have a few special guests. Eesha, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi everyone, my name is Eesha Shah. I'm currently a freshman at the University of Florida studying biomedical engineering.
Brandon?
Hey y'all, I'm Brandon Wisnicki. I'm at the University of Pennsylvania and I'm studying computer science.
All right. Last but not least, Evan, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, my name is Evan Cabrera. I'm a freshman at FAU. I'm studying civil engineering. I'm sorry.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. And thank you for being here.
All right, so I'd like to get into the questioning here, and Jose is actually going to lead most of this conversation, but I just want to start out by asking all of you is to set the foundation for the discussion, what does change within your schools mean to you? And is any change considered too small of a change, or do you have to expect something big and large? Any of you can take that.
Sure, I can take that. One thing that's I think is great about being in a school environment that we don't really get when we leave school is the fact that we're all together there. It's almost like it's a social media, but a physical social media where we're all connected in such an amazing way. And consequently, we are able to change and affect each other much more rapidly than you might be able to in normal like neighborhood or community, because you're constantly with each other 8 hours a day. And because of that, I think that when you do something small, it has a butterfly effect that's much greater and it's amplified in a way that isn't necessarily the case in other kinds of environments. And so I think coupled with the fact that, we're all learning, we're all with an academic mind, ready to start changing our beliefs and stuff, I think that's really, really strong. And I just think doing every little thing will make a strong impact.
I'd like to add on to that. Very much agree with Brandon. And I feel like if you have one conversation with somebody on campus or anywhere, and that could lead to an effect that could, domino on so many people. And I feel like that's significant enough to where one conversation could change your whole life. And that's what happens to a lot of people. So.
I'd like to add on that. I think change within schools, it's really about trying to drive the focus away from school just being an educational institute. Like many people or many students believe that, okay, we go to school, we sit in the classroom for 8 hours, we learn and we leave. Then again, for most of our life, this is our home. So I think we have to develop other skills than just being able to sit and listen during this time. So I think change in schools is both an academic one and social one, trying to create a perfect environment for students to properly grow and develop skills instead of just sitting and listening. Because again, that's where we spend most of our lives.
Yeah, and I think change doesn't only come from like administration or like extrinsic forces. It comes from like the students themselves. And I think we have to drive our own changes within our school through maybe having more open conversations, more clubs, organizations. And I think that any small change even a student makes has a really large impact.
All right, so that's going to lead us on to the next question, and this is for everyone, so anyone can answer. Is academic change and innovation within schools just as important as social ones, and why? And do you guys think that all schools face the same problems within them and require different changes or the same changes? What do you guys think? So you guys think social changes are just as important as academic ones?
To add on to our answer to that question, specifically for what's like differentiating the school and what change they might need. Obviously, like schools and their location is very crucial, and also demographic of the school. And I feel like speaking on my part, because I am in Boca, I feel like the area in Boca and the students and the diversity in the school Boca makes it a little bit not more of a challenge, but looking at it from a different lens when you have to go through a social change or any innovation throughout this school, because it's considered many perspectives and like, you know, different types of cultural backgrounds. Because one thing could affect, let's say you want to hold an event, and that one event is held on a certain, you know, religious holiday that a lot of people in the school, you know, practice. It's going to interfere with so many of this large group of people. And for example, one of the counselors or educators on campus that runs the program I'm in, he wanted to bring up the conversation of racial justice and social justice within the school campus, specifically for the fraternity council and sorority council. And this was on the peak of when everything was going on a couple months ago. And just bringing up the conversation for him and just bringing up that including that conversation in fraternities that maybe are predominantly not, you know, mixed with diverse people, it really, you know, brought a sense of wanting to talk about it a little bit more than usual, because beforehand we all know that people really didn't really talk about that subject that much. It's a very touchy subject, but now I feel like it's more, people are more willing to talk about it, and which is a good thing. So what he did impacted a huge social change, even though it was not innovative or anything tech based. It was still something that caused a positive disruption in the school campus, which I think was really good.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Evan. One thing, the way I see this is that academic change in schools and stuff is the first step in social change. I mean, this is what's going to affect the society down the road and then the next generation of leaders. And I think that's very important to understand, that it's very progressive in the sense that, you know, we might not be changing things like that overnight, but, you know, over time, we'll see a huge wave of a different belief or opinion based on how we teach the values and stuff of our society. So I think it's very important, probably the most important part of social changes through education.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Change occurs at like an education level, and I think through educating at a younger age and becoming more informed, people will be able to make a better decision. And I think all schools don't face the same academic or social issue, just depending on where you go to school and how diverse your school population is. And I think it's important to assess what the social issues are at the school and directly tackle that on than having more of a broad approach through specifically looking at, oh, the school needs to improve this much in their academic and this much in their social. I think we'll be better able to make change.
I definitely agree. I think it does depend on the school. For instance, one of the best schools in our district is Suncoast. Clearly, they don't need as much academic help as others. Sure, they do need the academic help in trying to help students with such rigorous curriculum, So possibly tutoring or clubs that help them with aid. But that school is very social. They have a lot of school spirit. Whereas the school where Evan and I come from, Lake Worth, it's probably the opposite. It's probably ranked in the bottom of our school district, and there's no school spirit. So Evan can talk about it a bit later on how really there has to be more social change as well as academic change there. Because really the students just go there to sit in class and listen and probably do nothing. So different schools do require different changes, I believe. All right. So now we're gonna go on to the next question, and this is a little bit more direct. So Brandon, this is for you. You built a website designed to help struggling students better understand the rigorous AP history curriculum. That's actually very impressive. Can you talk a little bit about this website and why was this innovation needed?
Sure thing. So just so y'all know, I went to Suncoast, and like Jose said, it was very, very competitive. I think I spent most of my 4 years worrying about where I stood among my other peers and, what grades I got in my classes. And that's, that my sole focus. And so through all that, I realized that many of my peers felt the same. And from that competitiveness, there was often very few strong resources that we could rely on, specifically in the field of history. In mathematics, we have these online calculators, Desmos, to graph everything. It's really easy to go online and find how to do something, how to visualize something. In English, we have just amazing, amazing websites full of books that we can read for free. And I think in the realm of history, there was a great lacking of such kind of resources. And so I worked with my AP histories teacher, and I developed a program called Theodore's History. It's a website. And what this does is it specifically goes to the AP curriculums. And some of these things are like contextualization, periodization, stuff. So basically, how do we view history in an academic sense, and see how do things change over time? And so we basically boiled it down to the idea that the most important way to learn history in a technological way would be through a timeline feature. And so basically, Theodore's History, you're able to create timelines with embedded media. And so imagine it's like Quizlet, but for timelines. So you're able to create them, you're able to share them, present them like PowerPoints, and you're able to take them and edit them. And so it's a really easy social way to do this. And I think this definitely improved the understanding when my friends and stuff, and the years younger than me, started using it in the classrooms, because every group project, they're able to present it, create a video with it, and add some fun elements to it. And I think it added a level of fun and immersion for the students, rather than just having to create Word documents with each event listed out like in a very boring way. And so I think adding this level of fun gets people as excited about history as I get excited about history, being the nerd I am. So yeah.
Well, I think we can all see why Brandon is an Ivy Leaguer, because that's actually very impressive, Brandon. So yeah, I think that goes along with Suncoast and how they do have a rigorous curriculum. So I guess in that aspect, Suncoast did need a type of academic change to help the students out. Because I feel like in Suncoast, even though I didn't attend, I can tell that there's a lot of stress with the students, sometimes going to sleep at 4 a.m. trying to do homework. So I think that's a great example of academic change within the school. Thank you, Brandon.
First, thank you.
So Eesha, on to you. Can you talk about your role on the presidents of Child Rights and You, and how were other students involved and how did both parties benefit?
Yeah, so I was co-president and co-action leader of the Boca Raton Child Rights and You division. And basically this nonprofit organization aimed to create awareness and raise money for underprivileged kids in India. So they basically, we would hold fundraisers and raise awareness to support the education, protection, prevention of sex trafficking, and just to ensure every child in India, especially more in the rural area, would have child rights. And some of our initiatives at the school included holding a multicultural heritage show and hosting the Festival of Holi. So we had a small club at the school, and there were probably like 10 to 15 kids actually in the club involved. And we would have about 3 events per year, starting from my sophomore year, to help raise money for the organization. And one of our initiatives, the Multicultural Heritage Show, we were the first ones actually to put that on in our school. And we collaborated with multiple cultural clubs in our school, from the Latin American Club to the Asian American Club. And we contacted all of these clubs to ask if they'd be willing to sell food, dance, or perform something at our show. And this was all in raising money for the organization to support child rights in India. And a lot of students became involved in the club through helping put on the shows, through hosting the events, or just donating their time to help the organization. And I think we really benefited from the direction of Child Rights in You. They really helped us with supplies, inventory, and just like planning everything. And we helped them right back through taking the initiative of planning a cultural show, of planning the Festival of Holi, which became a color run in our show. And I think we as students really benefited from being more aware and more culturally diverse than when we first started the club, and just being able to make that social change, even at a small level at our school, was very nice for us.
I think that's very impressive as well. And going back to the fact that students think that schools are just institutes where you just go and listen, I think this is a great example of how students can get socially involved, kind of expand their skill sets and their goals, because really some schools don't have anything like that, and it's a shame. So it's really impressive that you were able to do that, Eesha. Thank you. All right, Evan, now for you. What was the philosophy behind the creation of Young Men of Distinction, and how did this program drive change within the school?
Well, Jose and I were in distinction, and we started our junior year. It was very much more when we first started something to let's say just inspire, like majority of the time the men or young boys on campus, and we just really wanted to lead for an example, and hold us as a students and as a school to a higher standard. Because like Jose said one time in one of our meetings, that our school is very much degraded majority of the time. We have a bad image, and that's seen on the news, that's seen when people have a conversation just about the school. Let's say, for example, when I got here first to Boca, not many people knew the school that I came from, but if they did, they didn't really have a good image of it from the start. And so maybe they thought of me in a certain perspective just from the introduction of me and the school I went to. And it happened a lot of time when I was specifically more north in Palm Beach County. And that I would always hear the same thing. Oh, how many fights have you seen? This and that. Anything absurd that I was like, okay, people really have that image of my school that I go to, of that in their head. And so I really feel like that's one of the main reasons or biggest reasons why our principal, Dr. Epps, wanted to have that program or organization to really bring a better light to our school and to in our community, because we were doing a lot, especially going into my senior year, for the community and for our school specifically. And any event we held, we didn't do it as a form of, oh, we're doing this to make our school look better. We're doing this just to hold us to a better standard for specifically our students, because majority of the time, all of our students, specifically the males on campus, they didn't really care about education or their future, or just having any impact for them on the school. That wasn't really their main priority. And so when we first started doing any of our events, and people started noticing that how much of an impact we could have and how much fun we were having while doing it, then more people wanted to come on board. And that's why from the 6 we had our junior year became 35 our senior year. So it's such a big jump, was not only because, oh, look, they're having so much fun, but it's more, I want to be more like them because they look more. We always dressed up every Wednesdays in a professional attire, and at first people gave us a weird eye because it usually wasn't the style of clothing everybody would wear on campus. So but then that started growing on people a lot more, and them realizing how professional we looked, And me, on a regular occasion, I was always confused with a teacher or a substitute every single day. And at first it was funny, but then it really, I thought to myself and reflected, it was more of how much professional I looked to other people just by the clothing I wore, even though these people saw me every day, but I just wore different clothing. And that really bettered my image for them. And it did the same thing once we had 30 kids on campus all dressed up. So I feel like that really inspired and brought change to our school in a positive way. And I hope later on, I'm still in contact with the ones still organizing it now, that it will do the same thing in years to come.
No, and Evan did actually an amazing job directing it. Even though I was considered the president of it, Evan was the full leader of it. And it went on to the point where almost 100 students applied. And unfortunately, we weren't able to accept all of them. But it was just a very successful event. And they did a lot of projects such as collecting gifts to give students or children in the hospital something for Christmas because they weren't able to go out. So they did a lot of cool events and it was very successful. And I should even note that Evan, he did a lot more things on campus as well. He even got Student of the Year because of his community service. And like Evan is saying, our school that we go to, it's not the best and it has a negative connotation. And it really needed social changes, which drove the creation of Young Man Distinction and other clubs. But it also demanded academic ones. And that's where I decided to step in a bit. The school that we went to, it really didn't have very rigorous courses to the point where in order to be able to compete with students that go to higher level high schools, such as Suncoast, I had to take AP courses online through FLVS on top of my normal high school schedule, as well as doing dual enrollment with Palm Beach State. So a lot of the schools or a lot of the students in our school who didn't have this type of rigor within them to do this, they really missed out on learning a lot of cool skills such as coding because our school did not offer any coding clubs. And we all know that coding and programming is it's an up and coming skill. So I decided to create a club called Bro Code. Now, obviously males and females could join, so it was not gender exclusive. But in this club, I decided to teach students how to program Java because I was able to learn this course by taking an online AP course. And I thought that this program was very necessary because, like I said, they need to learn these skills and the school was not offering them. And through this program, I was able to get roughly 30 students and I was able to introduce them to the basics of programming. And a lot of them were actually became interested in it and they are going to pursue it on their free time. And I think that was very successful club just because they were able to gain some academic skills that are going to be needed in the future. So let's move on to the next question now. So this is for everyone, so anyone can answer. How does driving academic and social change in schools affect other students in the future? What do you guys think?
I would like to answer this question. First, any change, especially in a school environment, I would point out more high school, because that's when people are really finding themselves a little bit more or experimenting with new friend groups or new ways of, just expressing themselves. And any conversation, I feel like, could have a significant impact on a person. And like any club they join or any situation they put themselves in could be so crucial to their development as an adult. And I had one instance where I became very good friends with one of my classmates. I had him in class probably every year of high school, but it was not only until, let's say, my junior, senior year where I was really becoming a lot better friends with him. He was very closed off. He always had a hoodie on with the hoodie over. So it, showed off that he didn't want anybody really to, talk to him that much. He just was kind of putting himself in the corner, very quiet. And I feel like he needed someone just to say hi to him a little bit more often. So that's what I did. I said hi to him here and there. And then that opened him up a little bit more. And then once I saw him opening up a little bit more to me, I asked him, why do you have the hoodie on? And why, like, it's sometimes good to have the hoodie off. They said, oh, it's, my ears are cold. And I'm like, okay. And so I just messed around with him, like, we're all, high school students, and like try to take the hoodie off, and he got mad and all that. But eventually he realized how, once he took his hoodie off and he started socializing a little bit more with some people, how much I saw a smile on his face when he opened up a lot more. And then his senior year, he never wore the hoodie anymore. And he was talking to a lot more people, socializing with people in the library and the cafeteria. And then after we virtually graduated, he texted me thanking me for just doing that. And I feel like it still hits me every time I talk about it, how much of an impact I made just by saying hi, initially saying hi to somebody, and then trying to get them out of their comfort zone, which probably affected them. Now he goes to Polytech, and he's, socializing as much as he can just to improve his social skills, and which later will improve his life. And you never know what he will do and what position he will hold in the future. And just from that simple conversation, imagine how much change that could cause. And then that could be 10 times fold if you have an event that will be influential, just like this one.
I think we can tackle this question that we received in the chat by Mr. Andrick. He says, what is it defining, if there is one, characteristic that distinguishes students who strive to achieve or overachieve from those who do not? It's actually a very interesting question.
Actually, this kind of goes about what I was going to say earlier, but one thing that I noticed at Suncoast is that you kind of have a divide between kids who perceive themselves as like the top kids, and then kids who perceive themselves as, the not so top kids, I guess. But I think the perception is such an important thing, because I mean, clearly, like I know kids in both groups, and they're all smart, they're all very, very smart. And I think that they sometimes underplace themselves when they see themselves around kids who they perceive as, smarter. And so I think that's the big thing for students to understand, is perception. And this goes back to like imposter syndrome and stuff, but I think it starts very early when you're in this kind of competitive environment, whether it be high school or college. And so I think once you get past the idea that there's a million people better than you, that's when you can finally focus on yourself and actually like do a lot more than you could before, when you think that, oh, everything I'll do will just be overshadowed by this or that, or this person or that person. And so it's really just about how you see yourself. And of course, hard work and diligence has to come into play. But I think the foundation for it is really just understanding that you can do it, and just empowering these people, everyone, to work their best.
Yeah, and I think for me, that what I've saw, like the most defining characteristic is being open to change and willing to accept like any opportunity that comes your way, no matter how small or big it is. In my experience, especially in high school, the people that I saw that were achieving or even overachieving took every small little opportunity that came their way and made it something big. And I think that schools at a young age need to start teaching a more open mindset and a more willingness to change. Change is like obviously difficult for everybody, but I think that schools can often influence how we accept change, how we perceive change, and they play a very vital role in informing us how to overcome, adapt, and how they provide us with the opportunity to change.
I think his next question kind of goes along with our next question, and it's, how do students, teachers, or even businesses help students achieve change? Or how can they do that?
So I like answer this question, but just having the opportunity, I feel like initially, and have any opportunity as long as anybody is, willing to take it, I feel like will inflict any change. Even though I feel like majority of the time students, especially in high school, are very intimidated by any big opportunity, even though you would think the polar opposite. The biggest opportunities, you would see the most people to it. But it really wasn't that the case. Let's say, for example, some scholarships that a lot of students wanted to apply to senior year, the really very big ones, full rides that would set you for the rest of college. Not many people applied to them. And it was, they felt themselves that, oh, I'm not good enough, or my grades are not good enough, and things like that. And I myself, I didn't have the best SAT scores. I didn't have the best GPA. Obviously, I was just 26 out of 50, 500 something. I was in the top, but not really the tip top. And you would really expect the tip top to be receiving those scholarships, things like that. And but the thing is, people really wanted me to succeed, and I saw that, and people really pushed me to try to do better for my future, and they saw that I wanted to do the same thing. So that really motivated me more, and seeing that they gave me the options just to apply some of these scholarships and giving me these opportunities, that really motivated me more. And I try to motivate other students as well to apply to these big scholarships, even though it was a little intimidating at first.
I think more on the business aspect, we have another question that's a little bit more specific, but I think it goes along with the question we just asked. And Mr. Stevens said, what makes an internship with tech employers a valuable experience? And can you share any examples?
I can answer this. So one thing I think with computer science in general and programming is you have this big hurdle of, you can learn how to print hello world to the screen or how to print basic stuff, but there's this huge obstacle. And once you pass it, I think you'll experience much greater success. But the obstacle is that, how do I actually implement this to do something useful? How do I actually push something to production that, people would actually use? And so for me, when I was starting to learn programming, I had a tough time getting past this, because I would do all this basic console stuff and stuff in the console. And it was very difficult for me to understand, why am I doing this? Why do I want to do this? Because it doesn't seem like any other programs are doing this. What's the point? And so I think internships are a really, really good opportunity to get past that obstacle really, really easily, because you're already pushed into a situation where you're working with programs that are deployed to production. You're seeing direct examples of how does my code actually like turn into something that people are using. And I think that's somewhat inspiring as well. And so I think for a valuable experience with an internship, I think it's just really important to both give them independence, but give them obviously mentoring to get what they make into an actual useful position for them to be into the programs that are used in the company. So
I think that internships, they impact both academic and social change in the aspect that internships. So kind of to answer Mr. George's question as well, I know that 3 of us did have work-based learning opportunities. So Eesha, Brandon, and I, we entered at Max Planck Institute for Neuroscience. Was it last summer? Yeah, last summer. And we had work experience there. And when we were part of that program, we had both academic and social changes. Academics in the terms that we learned a lot. We were able to go above what we would learn in the classroom. Matter of fact, I can probably say for most of us that we would spend probably the first 2 weeks all-nighters trying to read papers just to be able to catch up the basics of what they were working on in the labs. And it was very interesting. These things we wouldn't learn in the classroom. But there were also social ones. For instance, just the basic example that I now have 2 friends, Eesha and Brandon, that I met from that experience. And obviously there were others, but they couldn't make it today. But also now we have connections with Max Planck and everyone in there. So I feel like internships, it allows the students to learn and expand regarding their experience in the field, but also allow them to create connections. And I think that that's how businesses can impact change, by being able to offer internships. Because again, if a student is just in the classroom all day listening, they can benefit if they do internships, because they're going above and beyond just sitting in the classroom and learning. Rather, they gain new insights and they gain new skills and they work towards their future. It's a great question. All right, so we'll go on to the next question. And so now that we talked a little bit about businesses and how they can affect students and how they can help drive change through the internships, how do you guys think that for the businesses or business owners that are listening today, how do you think they can benefit from what we discussed today about academic and social change?
Yeah, I can start that off. I think business can definitely benefit from like maybe offering internships or positions to high school students. I think high school students have a really unique perspective on what their demographic needs, and businesses are often unaware of that. And if they're targeting that demographic, it can be very important to get input directly from the source. And I think high schoolers also are very innovative, and they have like a unique approach to finding a solution that other employers may not have. And through employing them, offering these opportunities, you're not only making a change in that student's life through influencing what they maybe work on in the future, major in college, you're also allowing the business to succeed and have maybe a more innovative approach to whatever they're working on.
I'd like to add to that as well, just a side note. I feel like us youth, since we are going to be the future consumers or future producer of the market or anything like that on the economic standpoint, it would very be foresighting if a student, not student, a business would listen to the youth a little bit more, because that will be the consumer in the future or the main consumer. And we're very close to being the main consumer, especially in what industry or market you're looking at. Let's say social media or anything like that, that the youth is now interested in. We are the consumers and we are the main demographic that they're trying to target or they're trying to get influence from. So I feel like depending on what type of business or what they offer really depends on what questions they ask and who they ask. So, but I really feel like businesses in general should really listen and see more of the things us youth are trying to say, because the panelists here, you guys sound extremely smart. Just like you guys are all like extremely smart, and I would definitely, if I was a business owner, definitely want to hear what you guys have to say, 100%. And it would be very, not the best business strategy not to listen to you guys or anybody like you guys. So that's what I think of it.
I think that also businesses can also adapt just the idea of the economic and social change. And I think the same thing can be applied, just how students go to the classroom and just sit and listen, that employees just go to work and just work. Rather, I think that's important for businesses to also incorporate academic change in the fact that they offer their employees ways to grow in their experience and their knowledge skills. So I don't know, maybe offering them to take a couple courses or something in the tech field if that's what they're about. But also in the social change, in that these companies should also get more involved in the community. For example, a lot of things that we do here at Palm Beach Tech is we do get the community involved. So we do hackathons that we just did this past weekend, where we reached out to the community and the members were able to come and actually work together. So it's not just about being in a desk all day, but it's actually about engaging with the community as well, because that way the employees can also benefit and engage and grow their social and academic skills, I believe.
And I think what all three of y'all said was just spot on. But one thing I think it's important is that when you have kids not being involved with businesses around them, especially in the tech field, there's going to be a great brain drain. I think all my life growing up, I was like, oh, I want to go to Silicon Valley. Oh, I want to go to New York or something. And when you have opportunities that are visible right around you, you're not going to think about that so much, and you're going to want to stay potentially, closer to home. And I think that's really good. And so by creating these opportunities for high schoolers and for college students that are local, I think that you're going to create a much longer term impact, in the sense that you'll have more tech-focused people staying here rather than just going to the big bubbles.
That's a really good point, Brandon. And I did want to just step in and thank all of you so much for all of your insights and your feedback. And just, I think I personally took a lot away from this, and I'm hoping that the business owners and leaders that are here in Zoom with us today are also taking as much away from this, if not more, than I am. And we'll definitely reshare this out because we are recording. I think that, your insights here are really important because like a few of you said is, I mean, you guys are the future. You guys are the future, you know, builders of the products, of the softwares. You guys are the future consumers. So I think listening to you guys is a really key thing that a lot of these businesses should be taking away from this conversation. And I do want to just close this out this morning by asking a couple questions. One is, what do each of you think is really the key to having a successful community-driven environment within schools and businesses? Like, how does that start? What is the key to that?
I think I can tackle that. I think what businesses and schools need is just the drive to do it. So for instance, back to the school that I came from, the students, they lack that passion or the drive or the school spirit. I think just creating a environment where this pride or this spirit is acceptable and it's how can I say it? Where it's acceptable and that where they can grow. I think that's what's important, because if you have an environment where it shuts down all this type of pride or all this idea of being able to grow, then there's not going to be any growth. So I think it's just creating an environment where all this is acceptable and providing opportunities for social and academic change.
I also think that the key to having like a successful community-driven environment starts with incorporating the students into like the change. I think that you can make as many policies and rules and things like that as you want, but change isn't going to happen until you incorporate what the students need and what the students actually want. And I think looking and directly speaking to them and asking, what can we do? What should we do? What opportunities do you need? Do you want offered to you? Is what's really going to make an impact on the community.
I think that one important aspect of this is to work directly with the student organizations on campus. I think that students who know their campus will do an infinitely better job at handling something that's specific to that school versus some outside, business person. And so I think working directly with these organizations on the campus will make it much more efficient and much better to actually make a change and, change people's minds about either a business or the way of thinking in terms of an industry.
And actually, there's a couple questions in chat here too that I wanted to make sure we didn't miss. Was George, which I think you guys, at least a few of you have answered this question, was how many students on the panel have had work-based learning opportunities? I know that you said the three of you work together at Max Planck, right? And then Eesha, you as well had work-based opportunities, and Evan?
Yes, I interned also at Max Planck.
Okay.
Well, didn't really have specifically. I worked at Home Depot, which is something nice, but not as equivalent or prominent as that for sure.
Okay, thank you for answering the question too. I wanted to get that answered for George. Also in here is, says a question for everybody. How much are schools or the community at large considering blockchain technology? Did any of you have a chance to work with that or may know any insight there?
I've never worked with it specifically, and I don't really know many people around me that do. I think that the idea of blockchain is still very much seen as like a buzzword, like the same way AI is seen. I don't think that, at least the people that I surround myself with, very much see a move towards that or a trend towards blockchain. And so I think that might be a really important thing, is to change the minds of people like us in that sense.
Thank you for that, Brandon. And we just have a couple minutes left here. So my final question as we close out, and this is for all of you, is if you could say one thing to the next generation, to our middle schoolers, high schools right now, our next generation of graduates, what would you say about kind of to the statement of all of you are saying here is making smart being cool? Like, what would your statement be to the next youngsters?
I guess I can start. I'd say be open to the possibility of change and take every opportunity that comes your way because you never know where it's going to lead you.
I would say get involved and open as many doors as you can. And if there aren't any doors, then create some, because that's the best way to grow your skills and to get out there and to grow. So that's what I'll say. Just get involved in any way you can.
I would say you probably learn a lot more through resources on the internet rather than what you'll learn in school. And so I think really push yourself on the using a lot of these amazing free resources that are online. And so even if your school may not be the top or the best, I think that's just such an amazing way to learn so many things.
That's what I think is probably very crucial, especially from middle school to high school, is self-reflecting on what you're passionate about and then potentially exploiting it to the best of your abilities in either way in school or in life. And just having some passion and motivation to, do good at what you're doing. Because, for example, some students are not the best in the books, but they're probably the best in any of the sports or any social aspect. So really exploiting or trying to do the best and how they seem fit, probably the best thing for them and going to high school, especially into college.
Very good. Thank you. And again, thank you so much, Jose, for putting this all together. I mean, we are, super happy and super fortunate to have you as one of our interns. Eesha, Brandon, Evan, thank you so much for your insights as well. And I'm sure that after this discussion, there's probably going to be somebody in our local community that's going to be asking about you guys. So definitely, Jose, if you guys want to collect any people's resumes, anything there, I'm sure we'll get some questions about you guys. So thank you again. And thank you everybody that's for joining us. Really appreciate it. I know it's bright and early this morning on Tuesday. So just wanted to hopefully have everybody has a good day here. And again, go out and vote if you haven't done so already. Thanks, guys.